Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Welcome to our first introductory session on learning Quranic Arabic. So the goal of this session, this halaqah, is to get us closer to Allah's words. So as you know, Allah repeats many times how majestic the Quran is. Quranul Majid, for example. How great the Quran is, Quranul Azim, right? How powerful and authoritative the Quran is. And Tanzilul Kitabu Azizul Hakim, for example, how wise the Quran is and all that, right? And how Quran is mubin, how Quran is clear and clarifying, right? So now, Allah repeats this so much, right? And that's why in fact the Quran, if we know history of the world, the Quran is the one single reason for the world experiencing its renaissance and its enlightenment after the Dark Ages. So imagine we had the book, right, that changed the whole world. It changed Arabia. This society is the most male-dominated, patriarchal, society. So traditional, but it took only 23 years for the Quran to change the whole of Arabia. Not just changing from the outside, but changing it, on the inside. And after that, to dominate over the superpowers of the time, the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire. So you can imagine all of that can be traced back to what? To the Quran. So if we realize that, that we have this in our hands, we should be reading and getting benefit from this every moment of our life, right? But that's not happening. So there's an interesting book. It's a Muslim scholar. His name is Neil Robinson. I haven't finished reading his book yet, but I'm looking forward. So he wrote his book. His book is called Discovering the Quran, the veiled text. Okay, the veiled text. Veil meaning that it's covered. So what's happening with the Quran is that the powers of the opposing side has managed, especially in this past century or so, to mask, to cover it so much that the power of the Quran is veiled from the Muslims. Not just the world, even the Muslims do not have access to the Quran now. This is what's happening to the world now with the sad situation it is in, right? And even if you read the translations of the Quran, especially the older, earlier ones, the English is bad. Not bad. The English is Shakespearean, essentially. It's old English, right? Nobody can really read it. So that's the problem. So the goal of this halaqah, the series of halaqah, is to break through that veil, to break through that barrier, to get through to the Quran so that we have that access to the Quran that we have never had before. Okay? Now, so let's start with an example. So why is it that we're following a certain way? So that's a question I have. If you ask everybody, anyone, your friends, doesn't matter who, you ask them, do you believe in God? And they will say, yes, they believe in God. Okay? But the problem is, how do they believe in God? What is that notion of God that they have? Okay? Is it going to help them? Well, the problem is that what they have with them. Now, Allah, mind you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave everybody, every human being, every son and daughter of Adam alayhi salam, the fitrah. The fitrah is the conscience, the moral compass, that Allah gives to everybody, so that everybody has that foundation in order to get to the correct belief. In other words, the fitrah is the first light inside of us that Allah gave. But the fitrah is really not enough. There are things that the fitrah alone cannot give us. For example, if we believe in God, how are we supposed to communicate with God? The fitrah cannot figure that out. How are we supposed to pray to God if we believe in God? How are we supposed to obey Him? Again, the fitrah is not able to come up with the answers to those questions. Okay? And so the Quran answers that question. The Quran says the way you connect to God is how I show you how to do it. In other words, the messages that Allah sent to all the messengers, all in history, throughout history, is for that purpose, to clarify how to connect to God, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, Allah says, كَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا فِيكُمْ رَسُولًا مِنْكُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتِنَا يُزَكِّيكُمْ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. Okay. So just like we sent all the messengers, okay, from you, from all of you, to read onto you ayatina, our signs, which is of course the message, and to purify you, to teach you al-kitab, to teach you the book, wal-hikmah, and wisdom, وَيُعَلِّمُكُمْ, and to teach you مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ, something that you will never know. There are things that we will never be able to know. How smart we are, how good we are, we'll never be able to figure it out. So here's another reason why we have to follow a certain way. So one of the names of the Quran is dhikr. In other words, the dhikr, meaning that, remembers of Allah and all that. Well, how are you supposed to remember Him? How are you supposed to know Him? How are you supposed to mention Him? Again, Allah says, you're supposed to do it. كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. So remember Allah in a way that it was never, actually, you will never be able to figure out how to do it. So this is the problem. The problem is, if we do not follow how Allah shows us how to do it, we'll not be able to get it, to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we cannot do it right unless we know the language. It is difficult, very, very difficult to get it right unless we know the language. So anyway, let me tell you a bit of a history of how my journey, so that you can understand how it is not difficult, but at the same time it does require effort. So what I'm hoping is that as we go through this halakah, we can slowly build that capability in us, But let me just tell you a bit of a history of what happened. So anyway, the first time I kind of got interested in religion, in deen, the first time ever, was in high school. And what happened was, and I think I told you this story to some of you already. What happened was, in high school, a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, he decided with his brother and a few of his other friends to go and actually knock off some Hindu idols. Okay, because in our country, in Malaysia, there's multi-religious. So he somehow got involved with the cult. And this guru from the cult persuaded him that we have to follow what Ibrahim salam did. And Ibrahim salam, as you know, he, destroyed some idols and then left one, right? And he wanted to make the message, or give the message to his people, like, look, what you're worshiping is wrong, right? Anyway, so he actually, after he did that, and he got into some trouble and all that, but when he came back to school, and this is in school, this is high school, mind you, he sat down and he was giving a tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha, his own tafsir. I'm assuming he got it from his imam or whatever it is he was following. But it opened up my mind, because I've never heard it before. I've never heard a tafsir before. That was the first time I actually heard a tafsir. I said, wow, this is quite amazing. This is really interesting. I've never heard of the way, because of course, when you're in high school, you've read the Quran, right? You've what do you call it? You pray and all that. But to hear him explain Al-Fatiha, and this is a 16-year-old boy doing this, right? And anyway, so in college, I started learning a little bit after that, and I actually argued with my economics professor. This was in A levels in London, sorry, close to London, in Bournemouth. I argued with my economics professor. I told him he was teaching me about the ownership of capital, right? And I told him, I said, sir, capital does not belong to anybody; it belongs to God. So this is me, young me, trying to explain to my economics professor, the ways of the world, right? That we should really believe in. But anyway, after that, after that, went to college, and they decided that, I've got to learn this Arabic thing. But of course, what was happening is that there were no resources then. There was no internet. There was no social media. There was no apps, nothing. The bookstores, you had to go to the bookstores to find the books. And it was difficult to find good books. But I somehow got in touch with an imam of Regent's Mosque, who happens to be, the imam of the London Mosque. And he actually sat down with a few of us, just 4 or 5 of us. And he was teaching us tafsir of the Quran. And it blew my mind when I first started learning about that. And he was teaching, a little bit about how the language, this word means this, and this is why we believe this is the case, and so on, right? I attended a few Islamic conferences. There was one conference, for example, called Forces, which is a very good conference. You might want to Google that and find this is a conference in the UK when I was there for a few summer camps. And it was through that I slowly built that interest in learning the Arabic. So I finally decided to take an Arabic course in my second year in college. And I took it from a Muslim that wasn't practicing his Islam. We know because the way he was talking, we knew that he wasn't practicing his Islam. But he was, I think I forget where he's from. I think he's Egyptian probably, but no, I forget. Anyway, he was teaching us Arabic, very basic Arabic. And from then, I learned a few things. And of course, he was teaching modern Arabic. He wasn't teaching Quranic Arabic because he obviously did not believe in the Quran. But he was teaching standard Arabic. And it was in that time that the Russians invaded Afghanistan. And, as we know, after that, unfortunately, the Afghans fought among themselves, and it all became a big, big problem, right? So I want to share with you this story because I'm like all good things, like all valuable things, you must put in the effort in order to make it work. And alhamdulillah, we have with us the brothers Arabic who understands Arabic and who can help us out. And that's what we're going to do, inshallah, every halaqah. We have the brothers who will attend, who are Arabs and who can speak and verify and correct me. Okay, although I'll be kind of hopefully leading the sessions, I might make a mistake because I'm not a fluent Arabic speaker, although I've put in the years to learn it. Perhaps not as successful as I wished. Okay, so let's start, inshallah. So the thing about Arabic, and the first thing I like to recommend to you, first of all, is try to get a good dictionary. Okay, so this is the dictionary that I'm recommending, and this is a dictionary that's not too easy and not too hard. Okay, so this is the word. It's called the Arabic English Dictionary of Hans Wehr, W-E-H-R. Okay. You can find it online. Unfortunately, it's not very well put together, so I recommend that you buy it because it's easier to flip through. I recommend that you get a very thick notebook and start writing in that notebook what you're going to be learning, inshallah, as we go through this halaqah. And of course, since we're recording this, you can always go back to the recording and check what we miss and whatever you missed, inshallah ta'ala. If you can find a book, it's very difficult to find a good book for the modern person who wants to learn Arabic, not over 5 years, but over maybe a year. It's very difficult to find that. Okay, but so what I would do is I would try to source from different sources and try to make the learning of the Arabic easier, inshallah, in general. So that's the idea. So let's start with what Arabic is as a language. That's the first thing I think it's important to understand. Okay, so now this is interesting. So the thing is that Arabic is called a Semitic language. So the two kinds of languages, there's the Semitic language and there's the non-Semitic language. So Arab is a Semitic language. Hebrew is a Semitic language. English is not. Okay, English is not a Semitic language. So I'm going to share my screen now and then write a few things here so that you can, inshallah, kind of take notes as well. Get my screen shared. Okay, So in English, for example, you know, and let me get my, okay, here we go. There we go. All right. So in English, for example, the reason why it's called non-Semitic is because in English, when you write something, for example, like house, right? When you want to change the meaning of the word, for example, when you make it a plural, you add something to it. So house plus something else, okay, whatever that is, makes it plural. So in this case, houses, right? You add an S to it, and so it becomes a plural house. So this is the non-Semitic language. This is how non-Semitic language works. So for example, proven, and you add to it before it, you say unproven, for example, right? So English is like that, and there are many others. The Western languages are, a lot of them are non-Semitic languages, and this is funny, isn't it? Because when you say anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic, actually Arab is Semitic. So this is how how they confuse people. So in Arabic, this is how it works. For example, let's say you want to say, actually, let me just say that some words in English are Semitic. I mean, I'll explain that one in a minute. So let's say the word, the cat ate a bird. Okay? So this is let me just zoom this a bit so that you guys can see what's going on. So let's say this word here, the cat ate a bird, right? So if you want to change, cat ate many birds, right? You add many and then birds, you add S to change it, right? Well, in Arabic, it's different. The way Arabic works is that it changes the actual word to change the meaning. Okay. In Arabic, you can write ate cat a bird, and you can write bird cat ate. In English, you can't do that, right? The subject is the one that starts in the beginning. So that's the subject. The object is what comes after. That's how it works in English, right? And the verb is the one that's in the middle here, for example. Okay, so that's non-Semitic languages. In Arabic, it does not matter where you put the words. And in fact, in Arabic, it actually looks like this. Ate cat, a bird, right? Or bird ate, cat ate. So in English, you know that it's the cat that ate the bird. If you change this in English, it changes the meaning. If you move this and move it here, right? You know the bird ate the cat, of course, which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But that's how it is in English. So in Arabic, no. The way we know who's doing what is by changing the word itself. So in this case, what we do is we say the cat ate a bird, or birdan rather, okay? A birdan, okay? Now, how does that work? Well, what's been changed is not the adding the letters, it's the vowels. So here, this is actually a vowel. So the cat, instead of saying the cat, you add a vowel u to it. When you add the vowel u, in other words, the word changes sound. The change of the sound makes the word do something else. That's a Semitic language. Okay, so bird, for example, you can say bird u, right? Birdu, or bird done, for example. And when you do that, that changes whether the bird is being the one that's eaten or the bird is the one doing the eating. And that's how Arabic works. Okay, and that's how Arabic works. So, so let me copy what the Arabic version is, and I guess I should actually add the. So here's the Arabic of it. Okay, and how do we do this? Well, the way we do this, let me just There we go. So that's Arabic. Okay. أكلت القطة طائرا. Okay. أكلت القطة. So now before we go on, let's start with how the language is divided. And this is the same, whether it's English or Arabic, all languages have these types of words. So let's start with the first lesson. First lesson is, what are the kinds of words in a language? Okay, all right. Then we come back to this Arabic text here in a minute. So there's 3 kinds of words in Arabic, just 3. And this is quite amazing because in English it's slightly different. Yeah. So what kind of words are in language? So in Arabic, in this case Arabic, and the kinds of words in Arabic are, it's either a name, an ism, okay, it's either a name or a verb, and you can call it fi'lun, okay, fi'l, or it's a harf, okay, or a preposition, which is a harf. Okay, now let me explain what this is all about. Okay, so up here, the let me just write the cat ate the bird, right? So up here it says the cat. Obviously, the cat is a name. Okay, so this is a noun. Okay, here is a noun. So what is a noun? A noun is the name of a person, and you can write this down, by the way. Write this down. It's a name of a person, a place, a thing, an idea, for example, like capitalism is an ism. Okay, it's also an idea. An idea can also be an ism. Okay, so let me repeat that. So if you want me to repeat, please do that because I'm going too fast. So what is an ism or a noun? So an ism is a name of a person, a place, a thing, an idea, and watch this. This is what's different between Arabic and other non-Semitic language. An adjective is also an ism. Okay, so what is it? It's a name of a person, a place, a thing, an idea, like big. Actually, big is an adjective, but an idea like democracy, for example, right? So that's an ism, an idea. But it's also an adjective. This is something very different. See, in English, a noun and an adjective are different. What's an adjective? An adjective is something that describes a noun. Like a big bird, for example, right? So obviously big is an adjective. And bird is the thing that's being described, right? Well, guess what? Big in Arabic is a noun. Okay, big in Arabic is an ism. So that's the confusing part. Okay, so Musa is drinking happily. Okay, so happily is a verb. Okay, something that has an I, a Y in it, okay, is a verb.
Not drinking.
So drinking is, guess what drinking is? Anybody? Which one is it? Is it a noun? What's drinking? Who knows the answer?
It can be a noun here if we are talking about Arabic.
Oh, actually it's not. So drinking in this case is the verb. So why? Okay. Yeah. So happily, so hang on a minute. Happily here is sorry, it's not a verb, sorry. Happily is an adverb. Let me correct myself. Okay. Happily is an adverb, not a verb. The verb is down here. Okay. Let me explain what the verb is. So what is a verb? And I'll go through this again. So a verb is a word that is limited by time. In other words, it has a tense. Okay? A word that is limited by time. Okay? So for example, the cat ate the bird, a bird, right? So ate is a verb. And it what is it limited by? It's limited by time, meaning that it explains an action in the past. In other words, it's limited by time, meaning that it's in the past, right? So the cat ate the bird is done. It's not eating the bird, but if the cat is eating a bird, well, it's also a verb, but it's a verb in the present tense, right? In other words, the cat is still eating the bird. You got that? Okay. So that's the second kind of word. Okay. Now remember, happily is a noun in Arabic. Why? Because it's an adverb. And the other things, pronouns are also nouns. Okay, as well. Adverb, pronouns in Arabic, they're all ism. Okay? All right. The final one, which we're going to talk about in a minute here, is the harf. So what is a harf? Harf is a word that does not make sense without something after it. Okay? A harf is a word that does not make sense without something after it. So for example, in the house. In is a harf, right? So the cat ate the bird in the house. So in is a harf in Arabic. Okay? Why? Because if you say in what? You got to say something that comes after it, right? In the house. So you can make sense of it. Oh, something happened in the house. Okay, so that's the harf. Okay, so three kinds of words, right? Now, who are non-Arab speakers here? If you know that this one here, al-qitta, actually is Arabic for cat. Sounds kind of the same, right? Cat, qitta. So al-qitta is cat, the cat, actually. Okay, qittatun is a cat, but never mind. Don't worry about that. We'll do that later. Al-qitta is the cat. And ta'iran is a bird. Okay? Ta'iran is a bird, for example. There's different ways of saying it, but anyway. Say, anybody know where the verb is? Non-Arabic speakers here. Which one is the verb then?
Akal.
Yeah. Yep.
First one.
Yep, the first one, right? Because you're reading from right to left, right?
Mm.
See what I mean? When I said that this is what is actually being said here. Do you see that? Akalat al-qittatu ta'iran. So this one, we have to add something to it. So in the computer, you can add things using the keyboard viewer, for example. Okay, so if you want to kind of read Arabic, the easiest way to do that is to show the keyboard viewer here, okay, in Microsoft Word, for example. And then you can add a vowel. You can add the a, the e, and the u. That's the second lesson for today in Arabic. Oh, I wanted to write Arabic, sorry. Let me get, if I read Arabic there. In Arabic, there are only 3 vowels. A, E, and U. Okay, all right. We'll go into that later, but for now, let's apply this because I don't want to go into this lesson and not apply it. Okay, all right. Let's apply this. Now, those of you who are not familiar with this page or this site, I recommend that you open your Quran if you can't have the Quran, but you can use this site. It's called searchtruth.com. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this. So I like this site because it's got lots of resources and it's got the reading as well. So searchtruth.com, go to searchtruth.com, and then in the Quran session, click on list all the surah. Okay, click list all the surah. There's some ads there. And it lists all the surah here. And then what you can do is you can select a translation. You can keep the translation for now. I'm going to just use the Arabic style. Okay. So here we go. So, oh, actually, I wanted to go to Al-Fatiha. So you can choose the surah here. Fatiha. There we go. Okay. We're going to start with the first. We're going to apply what we learned just now. Okay. So the first thing we're going to apply is we're going to learn how the Quran uses the harf. Okay. The harf. So how does this work? Well, guess what? Okay. So the harf, remember, is the word that does not make sense without something after it. Okay. So like in, with, at, by, those are harfs, right? Okay. And guess what? The Quran starts with a harf. The Quran actually starts with a harf. Okay? And the harf happens to be this letter here. Let me make this a little bigger. This letter here. Ba. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided, okay, to give us a message. This is the biggest message in the history of the world. And it starts with harf. Okay? Starts with the harf. And the harf, it happens to be ba. Now, so what does ba mean? Like I said, the ba does not mean anything unless it comes with something after it. Okay? And it so happens that the word that comes after it is actually the word we just learned, which is the ism. So here we have B. So you guys know how to read Arabic already, so it's B. B what? B ismi. Okay, actually, if you read this, there is a missing alif. Okay, because ismi means ism, which means name, right? So bismi means what? Well, actually, it means with the name, by the name, because that's what ba means. Okay, ba. There are many meanings of ba. Let me just ba means in, can mean by, depending on the context, can mean at, can mean on as well. Ba, the word ba, the letter ba there as a huruf, right? And of course, it's a word. It's considered actually is huruf. So Bismillah is how we read. We all know this, right? But we really got to understand what this means here. Okay, because it means with. So when you say Bismillah, of course, bi isim, the name of Allah, right? When we say Bismillah, what that means is that whenever we say, the ba attaches everything to the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we say Bismillah, whenever we do anything, right, we've been taught, right, by our parents, whatever, oh, say Bismillah, Bismillah. We never really give it a thought. What does it mean to say Bismillah? Well, that's why it says we say Bismillah, because the ba means that we are attaching everything to the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? One of the meanings of ba here, the Mufassir, they say that this is ba al-ala, which means that this is the ba that works as a tool, like with, for example, right? Also means that. So for example, let's say you're drinking orange juice. Okay? You're drinking orange juice and you decide not to say Bismillah. And somebody else drinks orange juice and he or she decides to say Bismillah. Well, what's the difference? You're still drinking orange juice. The orange juice still tastes the same, right? But something different happens when you say Bismillah before you drink the orange juice. What happens is that, as Allah says in the Quran, Surah Ar-Rahman, Tabarakasmu Rabbika Dhil Jalali wal Ikram. Tabarakasmu Rabbika. What does that mean? That means that Tabarak, there is barakah with the name of your Lord, of name of your God, of your Master. Okay? Whenever we say the word of God, our creator, when we mention the word of our creator, next to what we're doing something, what happens is that we get barakah. Now, what does barakah mean? Now, usually barakah is translated as blessing, but it's actually more than that, because blessing is like, I bless, Father, please, I need your blessing for me to marry this girl, for example, right? Well, blessing in that means that you are, allowing that to happen. You're giving your blessings, right? You are happy, or you're giving a blessing. That's not what it means. Barakah does not mean just that, but just that. It goes beyond blessing. Okay? Barakah, the Arabic word for barakah, ra, and kaf, means something stable, something solid. Barikal in Arabic literature is when the camel sits, on the sand, and it's like it's there. You can't budge it, right? In other words, it signifies something that's stable. In other words, it's going to be in your good record. When you say something with Bismillah, whatever you're doing, it's going to be stable. It's never going away. Okay? It also means, barakah also means increase. Like when you say Barack Obama, okay? Barak means increase. What kind of increase? Well, increase because now, when you say Bismillah, you obviously won't say Bismillah when you're trying to do something bad, right? You think you're doing something bad, you won't say Bismillah. Right? So when you say Bismillah to everything, that's the first increase. You're going to increase your good deeds because everything you do is going to be good. Second is when you drink the orange juice, when you say Bismillah, it's going to increase in nutrition for your body, your physical self. Your mind's going to open up, to be refreshed. In other words, your seen and unseen world is going to increase. It's going to get better. So that is the meaning behind barakah. And that comes because of the word, of the harf that's there, the ba in Bismillah. In other words, our task will not be complete without us saying Bismillah. And that's the spiritual lesson behind the language there. Do we understand? We want to do something, make sure that we say Bismillah. And it will be showered with barakah, with increase and stability, and forever in our record when we do that. All right, so let me stop. And let's see. So that's the approach, inshallah, that I will take every time. We'll go into some little principle of Arabic. And then I'll link it to the Quran, and we'll get some. So the idea here is not to affect so much up here, but to affect inside here, right? Not so much the what do you call it, the mind, as much as the heart. Okay? That's the goal, inshallah ta'ala. All right, let's stop the share here. And okay, so that's the approach. What do you guys think? Do you think this is going to be something that you can keep up with, take notes, and carry on? Do you think
yes,
it's going to be good? Fauzia was quick to answer that.
yes, because I find it helpful, because I can read Arabic pretty fluently, but I don't know what I am reading if somebody asks me the meaning.
Right.
And I think if we take this approach, I can be at least able to know what I am speaking or what I am reading.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments about the approach? Is there a way to improve it? We have Arabic teachers here with us, Brother Mahfouz, Brother Rahman, Brother Lamin, who happens to be another Arabic. Yes, Al.
This is Al. I agree. It makes it much easier to understand if you know what it means. Maybe we should also focus on the meaning of words.
Right. And that's the goal as well. That's the reason why I'm asking you guys to get the dictionary. Okay? Because one of the goals of this lesson, of this halakah, is so that everybody will have a pool of words that they are so familiar with. And if you read the Quran enough, you realize actually the Quran repeats itself. Right? You realize the Quran repeats itself so much. Now, of course, there's a wisdom behind that. We won't go into the details of the wisdom, but there's a huge wisdom behind that, why it's doing that. But if you if you compare the Quran, you take out the Quran and you put next to it the Torah or the Bible, the Quran is less than half the size of the Bible in terms of its number of lines and words, whatever. It's probably less than half the size of the Bible. But it's, I mean, Al-Majid, you know, Al-Kareem, Al-Mubin. It's so much more to it that's been hidden from us. Right? All right. Before we end, let's take a test. All right, here we go, guys. There's always a test at the end of the at the end. There's always a test. So let's share the screen and let's go. Okay, we're gonna go with Al-Fatiha. Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, obviously everybody knows that Allah. Okay, that's Allah, right? Everybody knows that. Obviously, Allah is what? Ism, fi'l, or harf?
Ism.
That's right. All right. Here's now this next lesson that we need to be able to know is how to figure out the words in the Quran. Now, this is kind of easy because you can see that little space there, right? There's a space, and you can kind of tell, you know, that's a word, right? I mean, if you don't have the space, how would you know, right? So if I open up a different Quran that doesn't have the spaces, then it might not be so easy. In fact, if I change this, let's see, go to Al-Ma'idah, for example, and I do that, even still, there's some spaces. So you can kind of tell, okay, which is the word. But here's a few tests here. So let's take a look. So non-Arabic speakers, this test is always only for non-Arabic speakers. So what do you think this is? Those of you that yeah, what is that?
And
Yes, and which is which one? The three. Ism, is it fi'l, is it harf?
It's
harf.
That's right. It's harf. Very good. Okay, now you know the second harf. You got a ba, right? And you got a wow, right? Which is also harf. Okay, so we're kind of going through the easy ones here, right? What do you think this one is? Non-Arabic speakers. What do you think that? Yeah, so somebody said
not ism, it's not harf.
What do you think? See, so remember there are three words, right? So this is so we're trying to figure out some examples of harf here, right? Prepositions, right? So he's actually another example of a harf.
Harf, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually an. The word here is an. Okay, an, and then when you combine with masjid, it becomes anil masjid. Okay, anil masjid. But this is an example of a harf again. Okay, so here's another example. Let's find one here. Let's see. Okay. Do we see one? Anybody see one here? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. Here's another harf. All right. Min. Okay. Now remember, the harf are words that don't have meaning unless, right, something comes after it. So notice that anil masjidi, there's something that comes after it. So that's why it's a harf. Okay. Masjid, we know what that is, right? This one is the same thing. Min. Then something comes after it. So min is from. Okay. Min means from. Write this down, your vocabulary. Okay. Min means from. An means against. Okay. Against or on. Okay. Against or on. Min means from. From what? Min rabbihim. Rabb, we know what that is, right? Min rabb means mean from. What is Rabb?
Allah.
Yeah, God. So min Rabb means from God. Right? Rabb means God. So an here means either against. An means either against or on. Okay. And it means either against or on. I'm trying to find another one. Last one for you guys. I can't. Here's one. Ala.
Another harf?
Yes, another harf. Okay, ala. Okay. Ala means on top. Okay, on top. Ala. Or on as well. Okay, means another harf. All right, that's enough for today. Jazakumullahu khairan. I hope you gained something.
Brother Nick, I have a request. Can you share today's notes, please?
Oh yeah. You mean this one here? This thing?
Yeah, the Word document, because
Sure.
I didn't come prepared. I didn't know it was this intense, so I'll keep a notepad next time.
It's intense already. Okay, I'll share this as well, inshallah. So basically,
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, please spread this around, the idea that we're trying to do here, and hopefully more people join.
Can I suggest one thing?
Yes, go ahead, Al.
If anybody doesn't know the meaning of a word or needs help, we can use WhatsApp or whatever kind of.
Yeah.
If you want to know something, what is the meaning of this?
Should we create a WhatsApp group for language?
Exactly. I was going to say, I'll create a group, the Arabic lesson Haraka, and then we can, and then I'll, people wants to join, we can share stuff and, tips. If you find tips and all that, for example, you can find this book. Actually, it's an app on the iPhone. Yes. Unfortunately, the app is not very good because what the person did was they actually scanned every single page of the 3,000 pages, 1,300 pages in here. Okay. So they scanned it and put it on the app, which is kind of nice, but then it's hard to read, but you can find it. So if you go to iPhone, type, I didn't check Android, but I'm pretty sure it's on the same, but type Hans Wer, you will find the book. But I recommend again for you to buy it because it's really easier to flip through and find stuff when we're learning, inshallah. Okay. So these are the only book, I guess, for now. Later, we can always find some other books, inshallah. All right, everyone. Any other last comments, suggestions? Abdurrahman, you want to add anything to that? What was mentioned just now to the lessons? Is that more or less Phil?
No, I agree with Jose. I'm gonna need to prepare as well. But Jazakallah khairan, Brother Nick. That's all.
MashaAllah. So, Mahfouz, any comments? I'm just going through the teachers here. Mahfouz, any suggestions or comments?
No suggestions. Maybe one way to know ism or the noun is most of the time you can put a harf before it, mostly harf jar, like you can, and with the verb it cannot be like you cannot put a harf before it, so that's how you know.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, like what we saw just now, right? So masjid obviously is ism, okay? Because the harf is preposition like on something. The thing has to be a noun, has to be an ism. Okay, so mir rabb, from God. So from Rabb is another noun. So that's how it works. All right. Thank you so much, Jazakumullah khairan, the teachers here for joining. And Brother Lamin, please keep attending and contribute, because everybody knows that Brother Lamin's father is a huge imam in where he comes from. So this is the son following in the footsteps. Inshallah. All right,
thank you. Inshallah, next time.
Oh, by the way, we won't have anything next week because of the Thanksgiving. So we'll start again the week after. I'll make the schedule and the announcement, inshallah.
Thank you, Brother Nick. Please do share the notes from today.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Thanks.